Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. It's Melissa, and I'm going to be your co-host for this awesome episode. That we have an amazing guest, Bethany Weathersby, with us. She is the founder and executive director of the Allo Hope Foundation, which is an incredible organization. It's the longest running organization, specifically providing resources for women who have alloimmunization. And for those who aren't familiar with what alloimmunization is, it's a rare condition of pregnancy where the mom's antibodies can attack the baby's blood cells, causing the baby to become
Mhm.
anemic. And if it's not properly treated, the baby can unfortunately die from that. And so it's so important what Allo Hope is doing. And Bethany is not only in the patient advocacy and education space, but also has been a patient with alloimmunization herself and can
Mhm.
speak to that, and has just done some amazing work. So we're very excited to have you here on the podcast with us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is an honor.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor for us
Yeah.
as well. Well, like you to kind of tell the Why My Health community a little bit about yourself to start, what part of the country
Okay.
you're in, and about some of the work in the patient education and advocacy space that you're doing.
Okay. Well, so I'm Bethany, and I have 5 living children. I have one baby who is stillborn, and I live in Alabama with my husband Josh and all those beautiful children. And my background is actually in education, not in medicine, which I never thought I would end up here doing what I'm doing. But yeah, so after walking through several high risk pregnancies affected by maternal alloimmunization and HDFN, hemolytic disease of the fetus and newborn. These words are so long.
Yeah, they
It's
are.
so much.
They
um,
are.
anyway, after walking through those high risk pregnancies, I found myself really needing to become a fierce advocate, not only for my own babies, but for other families facing the same condition. And that really turned into my life mission in a really beautiful and unexpected way. And then that mission became the Allo Hope Foundation. That's what I do now. And I think for me, I have such an incredibly fulfilling job. It's really wonderful.
You and your husband, Josh, dreamed of having a large family. But during your first 2 pregnancies, what, if any, information or education did you receive, from your healthcare providers about alloimmunization?
Honestly, none. None.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
this is not something that's talked about. It's just not talked about, uh, usually until you have it and you're in the midst
Mhm.
of it, And then when you get the diagnosis, for most of us, that's the first time you're ever hearing about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wasn't mentioned. For me, so I don't have a negative blood type. I
Mm.
am A positive. And so most providers would assume then this condition is not a problem because they're mainly focused on the RH portion of it, the anti D, that can be prevented with RIG, RH immunoglobulin, also called ROGAM, that Katie
Yeah.
talked about earlier. And so that's kind of the main focus. And so if you don't fall into that category, it's not even mentioned. Yeah.
Wow, wow, and yeah, and we had a great, as you were pointing out, conversation with Katie Shanahan,
Yeah.
about Rogram, and that's a lot of people's thought
Right.
is the Rogram shot, uh,
Yeah.
as a preventative. Uh, that's
Yeah.
just incredible that there was no mention about it, and then
Mm-mm.
so here you go, you have 2 healthy pregnancies,
Mm-hmm.
um, and 2 beautiful children, and then you go to have your 3rd child, and you're pregnant with
Mm-hmm.
your 3rd child, your daughter Lucy, and you learned for the first time that you have this alloimmunization, maternal alloimmunization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, tell us about how that unfolded and the treatment plan you were provided with at the time.
Yeah, that was just so unexpected. We were kind of worried about I guess, more common, just typical first trimester miscarriage. That's what was on my
Sure.
mind. And I think most of us mothers, when we're pregnant, kind of hold our breath until we get that first ultrasound and see a good heartbeat and see that the baby's growing well. So that's kind of what I was focused on. And when I went in for my first ultrasound at 9 weeks, everything looked perfect. And so we were so relieved. My husband actually left the appointment after that. And it was just like, oh, she's doing great, you know. And then I met with my OB. He walked in and I could tell something was wrong by looking at his face. I was like,
Oh,
something is
wow.
not right. Everything does not seem okay by the way he's looking at me. And he said, "Oh,
Yeah.
your 6-week blood work came back showing that you have anti-Kel antibodies, and this is serious." And I
Mm.
had no idea what he was talking about. Didn't know that was
Sure.
being tested. But all pregnant women in, I guess, most developed countries have this routine first trimester blood work, and part of that is doing an antibody screen, also
Mhm.
called an ICT test, indirect
Okay.
Coombs test, to see if they have antibodies. And so if you have a negative result, which is usually the case, it's never
Right.
brought up, it's never mentioned. So
Wow.
mine was positive. And I wasn't really given any information. My OB was very upfront. He said, I don't really have experience treating this. And
Oh my
he did
goodness.
say, I think the situation is dire. And honestly, that was the most accurate feedback during that whole pregnancy that I got from any of my providers. Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. And
Yeah.
so he says that to you. He said, I can imagine somebody saying to you, this you're in this dire situation
Mhm.
and here you're trying to carry this pregnancy to term.
Mhm.
How hard was it, going from that to finding resources to
Yeah.
help you in this process?
Yeah, well, you hope that the information will just come from your doctor, but when it
Sure,
comes to
absolutely.
rare disease, often it doesn't come from them because
Mm,
if it's rare, they rarely get to treat it, they rarely become experts,
mm,
and so
great
often,
point.
as patients, it's up to us to find accurate information and educate ourselves and then advocate for the right care, which is where I found myself,
Sure.
and I was referred to a large teaching hospital nearby. There was a team of 11 MFMs, maternal fetal medicine specialists, and they didn't really have a plan, you know? Um, and so that's when I realized I have to really, really dig in. And
Mm,
it was so hard to find resources on this. Of course, you go online and you're Googling, and I didn't even know what words to Google because they had just said you tested positive for anti-Kel antibodies. I didn't know, no one said the word alloimmunization, no one said HDFN, nothing. It's just
incredible.
like,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
so that was hard. There was almost nothing out there that I could find besides, articles and medical publications. So I read all of
Yeah,
those. I have no medical training. I did find on Baby Center, you know what that is? It's like a forum.
I've heard of, yeah,
It's like a discussion forum, and they
yeah,
have different topic groups, I guess. And so one of them
gotcha.
was for allo immunized women. So I got in there and I just read
Oh, wow.
years back all of the stories, the posts, and then all the comments. And so that's
Yeah,
actually where I learned the most because I saw, oh, this worked for this situation, and oh wow, this didn't work. Look at this outcome. And then I asked questions, and women who had already been through it
mhm.
answered my questions, and that's how I really became
Oh, that's
educated in the
wonderful.
beginning.
That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful, but also I'd like to point out to people as they're listening, this was, like, 2013, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, 20. It's incredible that you were not able
Yeah.
to easily find information about this in 2013, and
Oh,
that
I
also
know.
shows what a long way you've come at this point in 2025,
Right.
but still in 2013, all of us, I think, would expect to more easily, more readily
Yeah.
on at the very least on the internet, but to your point, you didn't even know what search terms to look for, which is just
Right.
just
Yeah.
terrible because it made it so much harder. Oh my gosh.
It did.
And
Yeah.
and and very sadly, Lucy I know was stillborn just shy of 20
Mhm.
weeks. But
Mhm.
so unbelievably sorry to hear and when I was learning about your story and I think I was thinking about how the term miscarriage is relatively, widely known, but a lot of people
Mhm.
don't know the term stillbirth. Um,
Mhm.
especially, like, I'm just wondering, what you would like people to know about having a stillbirth, but in particular when because a lot of times you don't know what condition
Right.
necessarily may have caused that. In this
Right.
case, you did, and kind of, what was like that, like knowing that, and then as you learned more about alloimmunization, and then also when you were still in the process of wanting to grow your family further, you had already had plans even beyond Lucy.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it was horrific, of course. That's what
Yes.
first comes to mind when I think of all of that. And miscarriage and stillbirth, they're both the loss of your child. They're both
Sure.
horrific. But I do think that when it comes to stillbirth, that kind of carries with it some extra hard experiences, going through labor and delivery
Yeah.
and, choosing burial or cremation for your child, and then your milk coming in afterwards, and there's no baby to feed. It's
Mm,
and then recovering physically from childbirth.
sure.
My birth experience was more painful with Lucy than it was my 2 full-term babies before her, including the 10-pound baby.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and yeah, no one was in the hospital room making sure that I was, you know,
Yeah.
mitigating the pain well. And anyway, it was just it's a very strange experience. And I think that knowing, well, first of all, knowing that it was preventable
Yeah.
is incredibly difficult to come to terms with and then to process. And so yes, stillbirth is it's so much more than pregnancy loss. It's the loss of your child. And in a way, it's the loss of your innocence. At least it was for me, my ability to think it will never happen to me. I can never slip back into that mode. And in a way, it also feels like a loss of that mother, the person that you were before your baby died kind of also dies in a way.
Mm,
And you don't ever go back to who she was exactly. You become someone else. And so that's a hard adjustment to try to accept the new you. And you kind of carry the weight of your baby's absence for the rest of your life. But I also think that the new you develop this love that grows to new depths, and your compassion for others becomes so authentic. And um, this beautiful baby changes you in really beautiful ways, even though they're not here. And yeah, just acknowledging that. And I love who I am today, even with all of this grief that I carry. And so I appreciate the things that I've learned from Lucy. Also realizing that her death was preventable was excruciating, as you can imagine, and it just adds
absolutely.
this extra layer of pain, to this loss, this like the biggest loss of your life. And so we my husband and I also felt like when Lucy died, we lost all of our future babies as well because we planned on having a
Um,
large family. We were told your future babies also will not survive the pregnancy because usually this condition becomes more aggressive with subsequent pregnancies. And so
wow.
it's a lot of complicated grief. And personally, I just had to work through a lot of forgiveness for my doctors. It's still a daily
Understandably so.
yeah. Uh, it's a daily discipline and really a choice that I have to make again and again to forgive them because I really believe that the last thing Lucy would want is for her mother to live her life trapped in this cycle of
Yeah.
bitterness and revenge or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to kind of slip into that. At least for me, it is. And it really has helped me appreciate others more who forgive me when I make mistakes, right? And it really compels me also to do everything possible to prevent other babies from dying preventable deaths to this disease. And so going back to your question about, a stillbirth, knowing the cause, that's hard when it's a disease that you might have to face in a future pregnancy. That's really difficult to know. If I want to grow my family naturally, I have to go through this again. I have to face this same disease. And that's terrifying. But also it's so helpful to know exactly what happened. So many mothers who experience a
Yeah.
stillbirth do not know what caused it. And so I've
True.
always been, yeah, I guess grateful in a way that we know exactly what the problem is. And the hope is from the fact that this is a treatable disease. This is a
Yes.
treatable disease and you can have healthy babies. And so, yeah, that's very
Yeah.
helpful.
I can totally see that, and I greatly appreciate you sharing all of that with us because I know it's not easy. And I want to say we are so grateful for who you are today, for all that you've done, which
Thank
we're gonna
you.
keep talking more about throughout this episode because you really have you know um, taken your pain from that experience and from trying to every day move forward and
Mhm.
now with your husband, your beautiful living children, as
Mhm.
well as honoring the memory
Yeah.
of Lucy, have done so many things to help others, and so very grateful for that. And it really is, I mean,
Thank you.
so much. I know you were talking about the physical challenges and the mental health challenges from that you were impacted by
Mhm.
during this experience and after Lucy's passing. And I'm wondering, you were just mentioning too about your your family plans, which from the
Mhm.
outset you guys knew. A lot of people, they're not sure how many,
Yeah.
like, they want to have a big family, small family, like, oh, we'll see what happens, but you guys knew you wanted a big
Yeah.
family. So you're
Yeah.
hearing all of this, that you're gonna continue to be affected by alloimmunization.
Right.
How did it change your thoughts in terms of planning for continuing to grow your family? Did you think, "What? We're good. We're," and I know that's not the case because you're with 5 now, but, I don't
Yeah.
know if at first you said 5 children now. I don't know if you said like, "Oh, we're good. We really want to do this, but we're gonna have to be happy with
Yeah.
this," or let's see what we can do
Yeah.
to change things. So kind of how did that process kind of evolve for you um, after
Yeah.
finding all of these things out?
So, obviously, it was a huge shift because my whole
Yeah.
life, that was like my number one dream was to have a big family, lots of babies. I love children. It's just, uh, I'm just incredibly maternal kind of naturally. And so this is what I enjoy.
Yeah.
And so, and then of course, yes, this was a big dream for me and my husband as a couple, and so it was just like suddenly the brakes were slammed on, and it was just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Where do we go? What do we do?" And, we our faith is very, important to us, so a big part
Okay.
of this was really digging in deep to our faith, praying a lot, getting good advice from people we respected, people who were wise, and just trying to make the decision we felt was right. And so we were open to whatever we felt called to do. We really tried to open ourselves up. But I was terrified of losing another child. I
Of
did not
course.
think I could survive it. I so and a lot of allo-immunized moms find themselves in this situation of like, I don't think I can
Yeah.
take that on, but
Yeah.
I desperately want to grow my family. And so it is so hard to make that decision, like
Oh, I can
overwhelming.
imagine.
Yeah. Oh, that was so hard. And so, and if the right thing for us was to have two healthy boys and be done, we were
Yeah.
open to that as well.
Okay.
But I really didn't want
Of
we
course, in your
felt,
heart of hearts.
yeah, we
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
felt like we had like kids in the future waiting for us. That might sound weird.
Oh, no,
Um,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah, and so, and then yeah, so we, actually, we looked at every option, And then we researched every single option to grow our
Wow.
family, not families, to grow our family.
Yeah.
And then we did a pros and cons list together of each. Okay. So we looked at sperm
Nice.
donation, we looked at international adoption, domestic
Wow.
adoption, foster care. We looked at IVF with PGD, pre implantation genetic
Mhm.
diagnosis, to choose an antigen negative baby who then would not experience this condition. We
Yeah.
looked at surrogacy and we looked at embryo adoption, all of those. And we actually like had appointments and like went in and gathered the information, wrote down the pros and cons. And believe it or not, we ended up going with adoption, infant adoption. And so it's a long story, but
Oh.
last minute the adoption fell through. And so
Oh,
uh,
wow.
that door was closed to us, but we pursued that. And so um, yeah, we tried to make good decisions
Sure.
and still respect like the deep desires of our hearts,
Mm.
and not just discard that. Because something I had to really come to terms with was like, is the whole point of my life to be safe and comfortable? Is that really it?
Mm.
Um, and I decided it definitely is not. That's not the purpose of my life. And so that helped in our decision. And we, yeah, we decided to try again with a different set of doctors and a completely different treatment plan.
Wow. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I appreciate you kind of sharing your journey with us and all the different types of options you
Hmm.
looked at. 'Cause I think, uh, it's really helpful for people to know and to know
Yeah.
what different options are out there and to explore.
Yeah.
And so how did you find your because since it was so hard,
Yeah.
right? And that's and I know a lot of people as they're listening to this are going, okay, how did you find the medical care team
Right.
who could give you the detailed plan that you
Right.
needed and the proactive approach that you needed
Yeah.
to not have this affect a future pregnancy?
Hmm. And so I actually have very severe disease. So I just want to point that out that most allo immunized pregnancies do not end the way that mine did. Most of them actually don't even need intervention during pregnancy. And so I'm on the very far end of the severity spectrum when it comes to HDFN. So I had to make sure that I was getting expert care
Yeah.
from the right people. And so actually it was online way back when I was looking at, reading those like studies and
Yeah.
trying to find resources. I kept seeing one author on a lot of the studies, Dr. Ken Moise,
Okay.
KJ Moise, And so that was interesting. And he was doing a lot of this research. And then when I was in the forum, the discussion forum on Baby Center, I noticed his name coming up several times with different women saying
Yeah.
he provided the best care. And so I found his email address and just emailed him randomly and was just like, hello, you don't know me. This is my situation. And I just would love to have your opinion on our case and know if you think it's possible to have another biological pregnancy ourselves that and a baby could actually survive. And within like 45 minutes of me sending that email,
Yeah.
I got a call from
Wow.
from Texas and I was like, surely not.
Right.
This cannot be. This cannot be. And it was him
You're
calling me.
kidding.
No,
Oh my gosh. Wow.
it was
That's
incredible. And I
incredible.
know. And then we talked for almost an hour.
Oh my gosh.
He was so like generous with his time and
Wow.
kind and like compassionate. And yeah, it felt really refreshing, I guess, compared
I
to
bet.
what we had just been through, you know?
I
Yeah.
bet. How wonderful.
So that's how I found him.
Wow. Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
so wonderful. your research and persistence paid off,
Yeah.
and imagine, like you, I'd say, "Oh, there's no way that that call is." And lo and behold, what
Yeah.
an amazing person,
Yeah.
amazing connection, a way for things to
Mhm.
happen, and once you guys connected and
Yeah.
got involved, with your care, kind of what were some of the kind of like protocols or the tests or any
Yeah.
types of restrictions that you had to have as part of your care plan with your next three
Right.
pregnancies?
So we had to take the most proactive approach. And that
Right.
meant, having a preconception appointment. So talking this through before getting pregnant
Wow.
again and making a plan ahead of time that both me and my husband and the provider feels really confident about. And so that was great. So, I basically wanted to follow his protocol, which
Right.
is actually the protocol that I asked my MFMs about even during my pregnancy with Lucy.
Oh, how interesting.
And they said it wasn't necessary. And so,
Yeah.
but there's some really good backing for it in the medical literature. And so he agreed. He thought this was good. Let's do, if you get pregnant again, he would want, early first ultrasound, like 6 weeks or so, and then start then trying to get plasmapheresis treatments and IVIG
Right.
treatments approved by insurance, get them
Yeah.
set up, start those treatments in the first trimester, and those treatments help delay the onset of fetal anemia, which is how our babies are
Right.
affected by the maternal antibodies. And so that's what we did. And
Wow.
then it really delayed that fetal anemia until the babies were bigger and they were at a safer gestation for an intrauterine transfusion. And so it delayed it for my next baby by like 11 weeks, which is huge when you look at
Wow.
gestational
Yes.
development. And then he provided intrauterine transfusions every 2 or 3 weeks for the remainder of the pregnancy, and then
Wow.
delivered a healthy baby girl at 38 weeks.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
Phenomenal.
amazing.
Wow.
Oh, I forgot.
No.
Can I add one more thing?
Oh
I
yeah,
forgot
sure.
to say, a huge piece in all of this is early monitoring for fetal
Right.
anemia. So the MCA Doppler scans to monitor for
Okay.
fetal anemia started at 14 or 15 weeks, and they were done weekly. And that's how we really made sure we were staying on top of the anemia and not letting it go too far before treating.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. And
Yeah.
that makes complete sense too that would be part of that leading up to, as you
Hmm.
were saying, as far as the intrauterine
Yeah.
transfusion. So, and then
Hmm.
you had three more healthy
Yeah.
babies, which is incredible.
It's
Who are
amazing.
not babies anymore.
No, there are 4, 7, and 9. It's terrible
Oh
that I have
my
to, like,
goodness.
really think about it. It's there's so
It
many.
goes
Oh my gosh.
it goes by so fast.
Yeah. Oh,
But
it's
oh my
great.
god.
Yeah, they're
That's
totally
wonderful.
healthy today.
Wonderful.
It's great.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you had kind of started writing this blog,
Mhm.
and I don't know when the timing of this was. Was this, like, about a year after maybe, Lucy? So I was thinking, because if it was way back then, that was, like, 2013 still, when there
Yes.
weren't quite as many blogs have become more of a mainstream thing now, but there weren't quite
Yeah.
as many at that time. And so I was wondering, kind of, why did you make the decision to start a blog where you were writing about,
Mhm.
you know, your pregnancy experience and providing, like, this information that now through your own research, you were
Yeah.
kind of finding out about, with maternal alloimmunization,
Mhm.
it's causing hemolytic disease of the fetus and the newborn.
Mhm.
What made you say, "I think a blog is the way to start"?
Well, I was actually terrified to do a blog. I really don't like being the center of attention, believe it or not. Yeah, so it was
Oh,
really
boy.
scary. It felt like
Yeah.
jumping off a cliff, actually. But I felt called to do it. I felt
I bet.
compelled to do it for several reasons, and some of the reasons are selfish. But I really needed a place to process my grief And I've always been able to process my thoughts best through writing. And also after Lucy died and during that pregnancy, during all of that,
Yeah.
um, it was just so scary. I realized that the people who helped me the most
Mhm.
during those terrible dark times of grief and trauma, it was the people who were open about their own losses and their own trauma and who were
Mhm.
like willing to be vulnerable with
Yeah.
their own pain. That's, I mean, those people, like, they were like an anchor for me, you know? And this was, I'm not just talking about people in my real life, but also authors who wrote about their
Mhm.
grief and their trauma, podcasts and audiobooks and sermons that I would listen to. And those are the things that like kept me afloat. And I just thought, you know, if I can process my grief and then also chronicle our attempts to grow our family through all of this and do it visibly through a blog, it might be
Mhm.
able to help someone else in a similar situation. And that's what I did. And then regarding the medical information, that was
Yeah.
also maybe a little bit selfishly motivated at the beginning because
That's
I
okay.
I'm a
That's
big
okay.
family and yeah, and I have a lot of friends and I just kept needing to explain this
I
weird
bet.
complicated thing
Yeah.
that happened. And it's a complex disease, right, that almost no one has heard of,
Very.
at least in my real life. And
Yeah, yeah.
so I was like, "You know, I'm just gonna explain this really well and, you know,
Mhm.
break it down into these bite-sized pieces of information, put it on the blog, and then when people ask, I can just direct them to the blog,
Exactly.
and I don't have to keep trying to explain this again and again and again." Not that I mind, I really like explaining it, but I got tired. I was tired, man.
Oh, I bet you were, and also because it's very complex and it's a lot to explain, and so
Yeah.
so nice to have it in one place, but also to pay it forward knowing that other
Yeah.
people who are also searching for information, like you were,
Right.
would would find this and be
Right.
able to have not only from your personal experience, but this info, this impossible, it seemed like, in
Yeah.
a way, to find information to give them one more piece essentially to,
Right.
or several pieces, to the puzzle, and I think is so brilliant, and what
Yeah.
surprised you about the blog writing experience, and what
Mm.
did you learn from it?
Oh, man, so many things. First of all, I was shocked when because I shared my email address just when I first started the blog on there. I was shocked when mothers from all over the world started emailing me almost immediately
Wow.
saying, "Oh, hey, this is the best medical information I can find on my disease. Thank you." Or they had questions about HDFN or alloimmunization. And so it was just, you know, crazy that so many people were feeling like this was the best resource they could find on the internet about what they were experiencing. I think I was well, I was glad, but I was also just horrified.
Of
You know?
course, at the same time, yeah.
It's like,
Naturally.
this is the best thing they're finding, oh my and so then I just saw the need and was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
wow, this is so much bigger than me and my child. This is
Yeah,
worldwide gaps in care. Babies are dying preventable deaths." And that was incredibly shocking. And also, another thing was that you might think that I was encouraging and supporting these women. And I was like walking with them through their pregnancies and helping in that way. But truly, they were and still are such an encouragement to me. They
right.
are my inspiration. It was them that was helping me through all of it, and they still are. And
Amazing.
um, I'm just so grateful for them. They're amazing.
That's that's
Yeah,
that's absolutely, absolutely amazing
yeah,
to hear, and just you know, it really shows you never know. When you
right.
put to your point, when you share your experiences and
Yeah,
share information out there, what a difference it can make in the world, and as you were kind of getting uh, these emails, which I'm sure
hmm
that must have made you feel so good that they were reaching out to you, that your blog was making a difference for them, but also to your point at the
right.
same time to go, "Wow, this is like
Yeah,
a very big problem." what were some of the needs kind of in the area of alloimmunization that you were
Yeah.
seeing, some both personally that you had already recognized through your
Mhm.
experience, but
Mhm.
now through all these responses to the blog?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I noticed that was a desperate need is more information on this, resources,
Sure.
awareness, education, just getting the information out there. Um, if I was pregnant with Lucy right now,
Mm,
I'm almost positive she would survive and be healthy
yeah,
because there is information easily available and there's resources that give patients and providers what they need to walk through these pregnancies safely. And so that was the first thing, hence the women coming to my blog like that and asking me to answer their questions. Um, and then, of course, the access to treatment and care is so desperately needed all around the world. This is not such a rare disease in developing countries, actually, unfortunately. There's missed prevention, and in some countries, there is no treatment available for this.
wow.
But even here in the US and other developed countries, there are so many gaps in care. And like I mentioned earlier, this is a treatable disease, and we should expect survival from HDFN babies. Even in the most severe cases like mine, I have 3 healthy
Yeah,
children in the most severe case that so many MFMs said, you have the most aggressive case I've ever seen or ever heard of. And I have
yeah,
3 healthy children because I had access to those things, the right care, and all of these incredible physicians and resources that they helped me find, and they educated me as well. But um, so yes, education, awareness, resources, the right care, access to the right
yes.
care, and oh, there's so many I could just keep going. But I guess just support in general through these pregnancies. This is a very limited um, disease when you look at time, and
Yeah,
it is
great
a
point.
temporary disease. And if you just receive the right care in this small window of time, then the baby is discharged and the baby goes on to live a totally healthy, normal life without this disease. It's only this small window of time during pregnancy and then a few months or weeks or months afterwards. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, just having access to the right care, and
Mhm.
even to your point as well about, um, you know, you were able to find care, but it was in a different, it wasn't close to home,
Right.
right?
11-hour
It was in
drive.
another, oh my gosh. It
Yeah.
was in a different state, but what's so interesting about that to me, just because 'cause I'm familiar, um, with, you know, not exceptionally familiar, but still familiar with medical offerings in Alabama, like,
Mm,
you do have major medical centers, right? And they weren't and it's not terribly far away, but that
mhm.
also is to say that in this country that even if you have a major medical center, a major academic center, they may not necessarily have the specialty of that
Right.
particular, right, care,
Exactly.
and that's where so much with, with Allo Hope comes in, which
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about. Um, and that really kind of brings me to my next question, which is what made you decide to make this big transition? Your background professionally is in elementary and early childhood education, which by the way was
Yes.
my mom
Oh, really?
also. So I'm
Oh,
very
that's
familiar.
great.
Yes, yes. So you're in good company. I'm very familiar, and
Yes.
she loved being an elementary school teacher, and
Yeah.
that, is such a different, and I know you also were doing, teaching ESL,
Mhm.
English as a second language for many years as well, but
Yep.
that's such a different world from teaching moms to be,
Right.
in patient education, advocacy space, but the skills, education is education, and breaking things down in a way you can understand, translate, but what made you say, "Okay, I've had this experience as a
Mhm.
patient. I want to go," and now I've written the blog, let's not forget about that, it's very, very important here. Wrote this blog, I'm getting all these responses, I see all these needs. I wanna start an entire foundation, and I'm gonna do it. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna do this. And I admire
crazy.
you so, and I know there'll be so many people listening go like, "Yeah, we wanna know too." Like,
Yeah,
how did you so how what made you say, "I'm gonna go from this experience regardless of what I know and what I don't know," because that's
yeah,
always the case with if we wanna start anything. What
right.
made you think, "Okay,
Yeah.
this is my next goal, it's my dream."
Well, it happened gradually, so that helped.
Yeah.
But, well, to be honest, I always hoped that someone else would do it.
I love it.
I would even try to prime other moms, like,
Understandable.
if you ever
It's a
need help,
lot.
if you're ever gonna, like, try to,
Yeah, yeah,
start a bigger
yeah.
platform or something, I'm happy to help. But, yeah, I never ever thought that I would be here doing this. But actually, when I started the blog, uh,
Yeah,
I started naturally pursuing the very mission that is now the Allo Hope mission, which is to prevent harm, stillbirth, or infant death caused by HDFN and to support allo-immunized mothers through this whole experience. I realized very quickly that just giving these mothers the information that they needed about their disease and their baby and their treatment options and their the absolute necessity of advocating for those things.
yeah,
I saw such a difference in outcomes. They were having healthy babies after losing babies to this disease. And I would, explain to them what I learned from Dr. Moise, and kind of give them his protocol. I started connecting their MFMs with Dr. Moise,
yeah,
and then sometimes the patients with Dr. Moise, and then it started growing this like network. And I just saw how these women could have healthy babies and they could be supported themselves through this. And like I said, this is the most fulfilling work for me. It was incredibly effective work too. And so I saw this and I realized, oh my goodness, we need this on a larger scale.
yeah.
Somebody's got to do this. I'm not the one, but someone needs to do it. Nobody did it. Nobody did it.
Mhm.
Nobody else
Yeah,
did it. And so it started to be kind of this like compelling calling, and I
yeah,
was scared, and so I
of
kind of put
course.
it off for a couple years. um, but yes, I finally opened up to Dr. Moise. We became friends. He became like my absolute mentor um,
Oh, wow.
in this medical field and also just in life. He's fantastic. And I told him like, "Hey, I'm having this idea. It's crazy because I don't know anything about business or like managing a business."
Yeah,
Um, and so he was just like such a great supporter. And he said,
wow.
"You can do it. I think you should do it. I'll back you the whole way, and I totally think you're equipped to do it." And so finally, I just took the leap and again, I was in that place of like researching
Oh, I bet.
so much into this new thing that I didn't
Yes.
know anything about. But you can learn so much if you are willing to fail and look like an idiot, ask a ton of questions,
That's
be
right.
curious. You can learn so much. And then if you have the courage to step off that cliff and go
Yeah.
for it, especially if no one else is doing it and you see the need,
Yes.
you just do it. You just have to do it. And I had, Lucy driving me. I thought, what if I'd had all this information before she died? That would have changed everything for me and my
Absolutely.
family. And we can do this for families globally. And so it was just like I could not do it. That's also just to go back to your thought about the education, isn't
Yeah,
that wild? It's so crazy because I had this experience with elementary education and then teaching students in other countries and
yeah,
teaching them English. And so believe it or not, that was such a great, I guess, great preparation for me in this work now because I'm doing the same thing now. I am breaking down complex ideas
That's right.
into bite-sized pieces of information that people can absorb easily, and then you're just laying it out. And you wouldn't believe how many mothers in our alloimmunized support group truly know more about this disease than most MFMs. Like, it's incredible. Um, and so I use those skills all the time, and it's very helpful actually.
That's wonderful. I was gonna say, I bet
Yeah.
it is. I bet it is. And on the part that you were mentioning, far as the business side, I can't tell you how many people, myself included, think about that
Right.
because it is you have the passion and the drive, the understanding of the patient experience,
Yeah.
the network with healthcare providers and being able
Right.
relationships with them. And then there's that other aspect. And so I'm curious on that side of like structuring a
Mhm.
foundation and bringing in other people who would be on on a
Mhm.
staff, kind of how did that go and who kind of helped you because it is a lot for one person, a tremendous amount for
Mhm.
one person
Oh,
to do.
yeah. Oh,
When
yeah.
when you think about it, and I know, uh, other people who have and who tell me the same thing in different spaces,
Mhm.
um, trying to do things, but how did you go about saying, "Okay, I'm gonna need to have, like, these 10 types of people with
Yeah.
these 10 types of expertise,
Yeah.
involved." But yeah.
So, well, I started just by asking it tons of questions. I found the
Yeah.
people who knew a lot more than I did about certain aspects of it, and I would just, like, pick their brains, like, ask them all the
Yeah.
questions, take notes, and learn from them, and so I
Mhm.
that's how I started. Like, I went to Dr. Moise. It was just
Yep.
like, "What do you know about nonprofits? How do you think would this actually help
Yeah.
this problem? Like, tell me what to do. Just give me all the information." And so that was helpful. And then, he would link me to someone else who started a nonprofit for a rare disease. And then I would like set up a call with her and then say, "Hey, I have a list of questions. Can I ask them?" And people are so happy to share what they've learned, and to just give advice. And so that was a big part of it. And then also, I I was lucky to have actually it wasn't a mom that I had walked through her pregnancy, it was the husband actually. His wife didn't speak English, and so I had helped him
Oh,
through
wow.
his through his son's whole pregnancy and birth and afterwards, and then he would like translate to his wife. And so he said, because I'd mentioned to him like, "Ah, I would love to in the future start a nonprofit." And so
Yeah.
he said, "I want to make this $2,000 donation for you to start the nonprofit," because I
Oh
couldn't
my
even
goodness.
afford the basic legal fees
Yeah,
to
the
like form the foundation. But that $2,000 was exactly the amount that I needed to get everything legally set up and to actually
wow.
start it. And, that was wonderful. And then I was able to get, an attorney pro bono who helped me make the bylaws and just asking people who usually really want to help. And
Yeah.
that's where I started. And then of course, looking at my own skills and
Mhm.
failures and
Yeah.
the things that I am not gifted at, like taxes and managing the back end of the financials, et cetera. That was
Understandably, yeah.
yeah, it was incredibly tedious for me, and so it was like, "Okay, I think I need to hire someone to do this one thing that I am not capable of doing." And that's just where I started, when I started
Yeah.
finding people to kind of fill in the spots, and then, yeah, it just grew from there. It's been amazing.
That's absolutely amazing and so inspiring, I will tell
Oh,
you,
yeah.
to
Thank
hear.
you.
So inspiring to hear, and given all that, you have grown enormously,
Oh, yes.
since you started, and are there's some you have many groundbreaking things that the Allo Hope Foundation has done, but are there any in particular that you would like to highlight, um,
Yeah.
in some of your work?
Well, I do wanna just reiterate, like you said, this was such a team effort. Like, if I didn't even start the foundation, it was a it was a group
Right.
thing, and it's just been this fantastic, growing movement of, like, this community who's growing it together, and so I just wanna point that out, that it wasn't really me. I mean, I was the spark, I guess, but, yeah, there's been so many people who contribute to this, movement and this foundation, and, I'm so grateful for everyone. But yes, we have okay, can I just the first thing that comes to mind when I think about,
Yeah.
something that we've done that's groundbreaking,
Yeah.
um, save lives. And I know that sounds so
Yeah.
general, and I don't know, we have this patient support group with over 2,000 allo-immunized women in it, and that existed before. I mean, it was smaller, but we had that community before I started Allo Hope.
Mm.
Actually, I was in 2 separate kind of online communities for this condition, and we saw babies losing their lives on a regular basis in these groups.
Right.
And I knew, because then I would walk through with a lot of these women their grief, and it was so devastating.
I'm
It
sure.
still is devastating, but I was very aware of, like, the number of babies in the
Mm.
group who died every year because I grieved each one so
Mm.
deeply. And after we started Allo Hope, I noticed a steep decline in the number of babies who died. And now I can't remember the last baby that died, of the women that are in our group, despite the fact that the group is
Incredible.
growing exponentially. So there's
Mm.
more babies, there's more moms, and far less losses just in that group.
Wonderful.
And that's what comes to mind first when I think about what we've accomplished. That is exactly what we want to do. And these are the
Yeah.
women who have all these resources because they find us and they have support, and then we connect them with the right providers, and then they have healthy babies. So that's just the first thing that comes to mind.
Absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful.
And then we've just been able to educate thousands of women and families and providers worldwide through. We have a podcast as well, the Allo podcast. We have
Yes.
so many great educational resources. We have point of care materials for physicians to use in the office. And we also helped shape some emerging practice guidelines that we're very excited about.
Very
Um,
cool.
Evidence-based consensus guidelines. And so watch for those. I think they will be published in JAMA later this year. We're very
Oh,
excited about
incredible.
those. Very excited.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
incredible.
Um, yeah, and then, of course, just the direct, like, one-on-one support we are able to provide
Yeah.
to mothers. Like, that's so important, and that's a huge accomplishment.
No, absolutely
Yeah.
just incredible, incredible work,
Thank you.
and so appreciative of it. And when you look back, it's been I was thinking about this, so 2013, it's been about 12 years,
Mhm.
but give or take now since Lucy's passing, and when you look back at all you've accomplished in
Mhm.
this past 12 years, what are you most proud of in the work that you're doing to help other women who have been diagnosed with maternal alloimmunization and are carrying
Mm.
babies at risk of hemolytic disease of the fetus and newborn?
Yeah. I'm so proud that, like, Lucy's life sparked this movement. I'm so proud of her as her mother. Um, and it's just been such an honor, and it's just been, truly incredible to see how her life, though it was cut so short,
Yeah.
has made such an impact and has saved so many other lives. And so, just as a mom, I'm trying not to cry, I'm trying to hold it together, but I'm just so proud of her.
No,
Yeah,
it is absolutely absolutely amazing, and you have
yeah,
so much to be proud of, and so many people, both of you have both you and Lucy have
yeah.
helped, and as you look to the future, what are you most hopeful about when it comes to care for alloimmunization?
Oh,
And
man, there's so
second
many
part to
things.
that is there something that back in 2013 when you were first diagnosed that you could have never
Mhm.
imagined being hopeful about today in
Yeah.
this space in 2025 that you are
Yeah.
hopeful about.
Absolutely, and I think this is all kind of wrapped into, like, also what I'm so incredibly proud of when I look back over the
Yeah.
past 12 years. Um, I and this is what also brings hope, is just seeing how, allo-immunized mothers are, uh, being given the platform now.
Um,
They are being heard, their voices are being heard, and their, stories are being elevated in this new way where for years, to me, it just felt like nobody cared. It felt like it wasn't on anyone's radar, nobody cared that much about this rare disease, and it has really grown in, kind of taken on the spotlight in a way, and I love seeing allo-immunized mothers, be able to play such a big part in all of this and share their stories and make a difference, and they were a big part of those evidence-based consensus guidelines that I talked about that are coming out. The patients were at the
yeah.
center of that, and it's just been incredible to watch. I'm so impressed, like I said before, with these mothers and not just the way that they step up and share their stories and educate others on this condition, but the way that they use their trauma for good and
Yeah.
they want to give back. They want to continue this momentum of compassion, generosity, and kindness. And I think back to that phone call where Dr. Moise called me, and he's
Mm,
like this world-renowned expert. He's so busy. And he stopped what he was doing and called me and talked to me for almost an hour. He had no idea who I was, and to me, that meant everything. And it showed me that, it doesn't matter how powerful you are or, um, rich or well-spoken or accomplished. The things that matter are you willing to provide support and compassion and generosity and time to the people who are in their darkest time of their lives? That's what inspires others to then do the same for the other people in their lives. And so that really shaped me as a person, how Dr. Moise treated me. And it has made me treat these other women who reach out in the same way because I know exactly what it meant to me when I felt completely helpless and hopeless. And then they feel compelled to do the same for others. And it's so beautiful to watch and see. And that's how I think we're making such a big difference. And I think it kind of goes back to just Dr. Moise being kind and caring about a stranger.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
very powerful.
it really is. Yeah.
It really it inspires you. It makes you stop and pause and
Yeah.
say, if this person who has reached such a level of power
Yeah.
within their field
Mhm.
still can remember how important caring for somebody
Mhm.
is who they may not have met before, they may not directly be a patient yet with them, but who's in need.
Right.
It inspires you, like you said, to
Yeah.
say, "You know what? I may not have expertise naturally in a particular area,
Yep.
but you know what? I have this lived experience expertise.
Yes.
What can I do to make a difference for other people's
Exactly.
lived experiences as well?" So very,
Yeah.
very powerful, very
Yeah.
powerful. And I'm so inspired by all you've shared with us today
Thank you.
and kind of as we close out the episode, what is your advice to other women out there who do not come from a medical or scientific background professionally,
Mhm.
but they have had an experience in their life or they have known someone close to them who's had an experience in their life with their health that has made them want to change and improve healthcare resources and just actual care.
Mhm.
and, they see they're listening to you. They have seen what you've done, um, with the Allo Hope Foundation, and they wanna to follow, in your footsteps. What would your be a as they're
Mm.
starting out, because that's the hardest part, right? Is is
Yes.
is starting, what would your advice be to them?
Yeah. Well, I agree. You do not need a medical degree in order to make a difference. I believe that true, vibrant, flourishing healthcare happens within a community of people. They play different roles and they meet different needs. And we use our gifts and our lived experience to enrich others. And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of at the core of good healthcare that you can depend on. And I think that sometimes we get a little hyper focused on tackling these problems, these healthcare problems, or disease related problems from the top down with
Yeah.
the high ups, the doctors, the industries, and working that way, which is very important, but
Yes.
it's not the only way. I think, and what we've seen at Allo Hope is working from the bottom up is just as effective and it's necessary. And so starting with the patients, meeting their needs, just hearing them, hearing their concerns, building relationships with them, being vulnerable with your own story, you know, um, never underestimate the power of lived experience. I think that's what really changes things. Sharing what you have lived through and what you've learned. And also, never underestimate the power of love and vulnerability and
Yes.
compassion. Because when you show, like I said earlier, when you show that love and generosity to people who are at their lowest point, not only are you helping them survive that moment or that experience, you also inspire them to do the same for others. And then it really makes lasting change. And so, yeah, replace that medical background or whatever you think you need with, courage, resilience, curiosity, ask the questions, gather the information, and love, and I think that that's how you make the biggest difference, truly.
Wow. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah,
Bethany, for sharing your personal story, sharing your story of building this incredible foundation with us,
yeah.
and you will inspire so many people with it, and I so appreciate you taking the time, and I want to encourage everyone to go and check out the Allo Hope Foundation,
Yes.
allohopefoundation.org.
Mhm.
There are so many ways to get connected, and so many incredible resources available. So thank you so much, Bethany.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the work that you do. It's very important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you.
Thanks. This was fun.
So it was.
Yeah.